Imagine settling in for the night, the room dim around you, when suddenly you hear a whisper that isn't there. What if that sound came from something you owned? Something ordinary turned deadly. Tonight, in these 9 disturbing true horror stories that will haunt you tonight, we dive into tales of everyday objects and places that hide terrifying secrets. These aren't just scary bedtime stories. They're true horror tales pulled from real lives, where the line between the normal and the nightmare blurs. You'll question what lurks in your own home after this. Stick around, because each one builds on a last, revealing how one cursed thread connects them all in ways you won't see coming. Have you ever picked up an old book and felt a chill race down your spine? That's where our first story begins, with something as simple as a manuscript. But this wasn't just any book. It was discovered in the dusty attic of a forgotten Victorian house in rural England back in the early 1900s. The family who lived there had vanished overnight, leaving behind only echoes of their lives. No one knew why until a curious antique dealer stumbled upon the leather-bound pages during an estate sale. He thought it was a treasure, a relic from a bygone era filled with elegant script. Little did he know, its secret origin tied back to a long-lost occult society, one that practiced rituals under cover of night. Members had inscribed forbidden knowledge into its pages. Knowledge meant to summon forces beyond our world. The dealer took it home, excited to decipher it. That night, as he pored over the words by candlelight, the air grew thick. He felt watched, and then the first tragedy struck. The dealer's wife found him the next morning, or rather, she didn't. He had vanished from his study, the manuscript open on his desk. Police searched the house, but there was no sign of struggle, only a faint scorch mark on the floor where he had sat. Neighbors whispered about strange lights flickering in the windows the night before. Authorities dismissed it as a runaway case, but those who knew him swore he would never leave his family. The manuscript passed his estate, and soon another owner met a similar fate. A historian in the 1950s claimed it for research. He too disappeared after reporting headaches and visions of shadowy figures. This pattern repeated over decades, each victim leaving behind only unanswered questions. What made it worse was the way the book seemed to call to people, drawing them in like a siren song. But the real horror emerged when someone finally heard its voice. Deep into one sleepless night, a young librarian who had acquired the manuscript decided to read aloud from its pages. The words twisted on her tongue, ancient and unfamiliar. As she spoke, the book began to whisper back, faint at first, like wind through cracks, then clearer. Incantations that echoed in her mind long after she closed it. She recorded the sounds, hoping to prove she wasn't losing her grip. Those recordings, leaked years later, chilled experts to the bone. The whispers predicted events, small at first, like a storm hitting the town, then darker, foretelling personal losses. The librarian tried to destroy the book, but it survived fires and floods unscathed. She vanished soon after, her final note warning others not to listen. This cursed manuscript, now locked away in a private collection, still draws the curious. But why does it choose who it claims? That question lingers, pulling us deeper into the unknown. If that tale sent a shiver through you, wait until you hear about the next one. Set in a place where innocence should thrive, but darkness took root instead. Abandoned orphanages carry their own weight of sorrow, but this one in the Midwest United States hides a history so bleak it was buried for generations. Built in the late 1800s, it housed children left behind by tragedy, orphans of wars, plagues, and poverty. Reports from the time spoke of harsh conditions, with kids falling ill mysteriously. But the true horror surfaced in old ledgers, revealing unexplained vanishings. One night in 1912, an entire wing of the building emptied. No screams, no signs of escape. Just empty beds and a chill that lingered. Locals blamed disease, but whispers of something supernatural spread. The orphanage closed soon after, its doors boarded up, but the echoes didn't fade. Years later, in the 1970s, a group of urban explorers broke in, drawn by rumors of hauntings. Among the debris, they found a broken doll in the nursery, its porcelain face cracked, eyes staring blankly. One explorer, a woman named Sarah, picked it up that night. She dreamed of a child pleading for help. She returned the doll, but it reappeared in her car days later. Sarah shared her fractured testimony online before she stopped posting altogether. She described hearing giggles in her home, followed by scratches on walls. Friends confirmed seeing the doll move slightly when no one watched. Police dismissed her claims, but her words painted a picture of unrelenting dread. What broke her most was realizing the doll mirrored a child from the orphanage's records, a girl who had vanished that fateful night. Digging deeper, hidden police files from the era resurfaced in a Freedom of Information request decades later. They detailed suppressed evidence. Strange symbols etched into the orphanage walls. Symbols tied to old folklore about summoning guardians that turned vengeful. Officers had noted children's drawings of the Watcher, a figure that matched descriptions from survivors. One file even mentioned a ritual gone wrong, where staff experimented with occult practices to protect the kids, only to unleash something malevolent. Those files were sealed quickly, but leaks confirmed the vanishings aligned with full moons. The orphanage stands empty today, a magnet for thrill seekers who report the same giggles Sarah heard. But how could a place so forsaken hold onto its victims across time? That paradox tugs at the mind, doesn't it? If objects and places can trap souls, what happens when the same mark appears in unrelated tales, defying all logic? We'll circle back to that soon. But first, another layer of terror waits. Picture a simple carving, a sigil etched into wood or stone, seeming harmless until it isn't. Our third story revolves around such a mark. First glimpsed on an ancient relic unearthed in a Scottish dig in the 1920s. Archaeologists found on a stone tablet buried with human remains, the symbol of swirling pattern that evoked unease. They called it a protective charm, but those who handled it reported nightmares. The relic made its way to a museum, where a curator noted its resemblance to marks in forbidden texts. He photographed it, but the images blurred inexplicably. Then, the first real chill came when a visitor to the exhibit claimed the sigil glowed faintly under moonlight filtering through windows. The horror deepened with a surgeon's note from a related incident in the 1980s. During an autopsy on a hiker found dead in the Highlands, the doctor discovered the same sigil carved inside the man's chest cavity, as if branded from within. No external wounds explained it. The note, buried in medical archives, described the tissue around it as decayed unnaturally, like years of rotten hours. The hiker had been exploring ruins near the original dig site. Colleagues whispered about a curse, but the official report cited natural causes. Yet, the surgeon retired soon after, haunted by dreams of the symbol pulsing like a heartbeat. But the shadows only grew deeper. What surfaced next twisted reality itself. We've journeyed through tales of a cursed manuscript that whispers doom, an abandoned orphanage clutching lost souls, and a carved sigil branding the unwitting. Each one hints at connections beyond chance, like threads in a web we can't yet see. Remember that nagging paradox from before? How can forsaken places and objects trap victims across time? And what if the same mark links unrelated horrors, defying logic? Here's the chilling payoff. That sigil isn't random. It stems from a single ancient rite, a binding spell cast centuries ago by a desperate cult to seal away an entity they awakened. This rite scattered fragments, like the manuscript symbols, the orphanage's etchings, into the world, where they latch onto new hosts. Far from defying logic, it weaves a deliberate pattern, pulling victims into a shared fate. But resolving this only heightens the dread, because if one rite connects them, imagine what else has spawned. The stakes climb higher now, as we descend further into the spiral, uncovering motives and links that twist the ordinary into nightmare. Let's circle back to the cursed manuscript, where its secret motive finally unmasks itself. Owners didn't vanish by accident. The book feeds on curiosity, luring those who seek hidden knowledge. In the 1920s, a scholar decoded a hidden layer in its pages, a map of ley lines, ancient energy paths set within the veil between worlds. He realized the manuscript wasn't just a record. It was a key, designed to open doors for the entity trapped by that old rite. The motive? To free itself by claiming souls as payment. The scholar burned his notes, but not before the book claimed him. His body found twisted as if pulled through an invisible rift. Decades later, digital scans revealed watermark symbols matching the sigil, proving the manuscript's true purpose. a vessel for the entity's escape. Each reading strengthens it, echoing the rite's failure. No wonder it survives destruction. It's alive in ways we can't grasp. Shifting to the orphanage, a forgotten folklore link ties it to an older myth, one from Native American legends in the region. Stories spoke of shadow keepers, spirits bound to guard sacred lands but corrupted by settlers' greed. The orphanage sat on such ground, and records from the 1800s show staff incorporating local rituals twisted into their own occult experiments. This link surfaced in a dusty archive, where a journal described children drawing the sigil instinctively, as if compelled. The folklore warned that invoking these keepers without pure intent invited possession. The vanishings? Not disease, but the spirits claiming bodies as hosts, dragging them into the earth. A modern investigator in the 1990s connected it, finding soil samples on the site laced with unexplained minerals, like remnants of a portal. This escalates the horror. The orphanage wasn't just haunted, it was a gateway, built on cursed soil that still hungers. Now, for the carved sigil itself, a blood oath sacrifice reveals the price someone paid long ago. In the 1600s, during witch hunts in Scotland, an accused healer etched the sigil into her own skin to bind the entity her coven had summoned by mistake. Her sacrifice sealed it temporarily, but at the cost of her lineage, descendants doomed to carry the mark. Autopsy notes from the 1980s hiker showed faint scars matching her description, as if inherited across generations. The oath demanded blood to renew the seal, but when ignored, the entity lashes out. A genealogist traced the hiker's family back to that healer, uncovering letters where ancestors described the sigil appearing in dreams, urging them to pay the debt. This sacrifice wasn't one time. It's ongoing, claiming those who forget. The dread builds. Could you be connected without knowing? Deeper still, the sigil ties to a time-slipped relic, an artifact from another century that shouldn't exist. Excavated in the 2010s from a site predating the Scottish dig. This small amulet bore the sigil but dated to Roman times, centuries before the healer's rite. How? Experts theorize a temporal anomaly, where the entity's influence bends time, planting relics to ensure its survival. The amulet's finder, a professor, experienced visions of past and future, scenes of the manuscript's creation and the orphanage's fall. He donated it to a lab, but tests showed it aging backward, growing newer over time. This relic proves the entity's reach spans eras, slipping through cracks to perpetuate the curse. If time isn't linear for it, no one is safe from its grasp. Enter a new layer of terror with our fourth story, centered on a chorus heard backwards, an eerie soundtrack that unravels minds. It started in the 1960s with a vinyl record found in a thrift store in California, labeled simply Lullaby for the Lost. Listeners reported unease, but playing it in reverse revealed a chorus of voices chanting the sigil's incantation. The record tied to a failed musician who vanished after recording it, inspired by dreams of an ancient rite. One fan, in the 1980s, digitized it and shared clips online before he too disappeared. The backwards chorus predicted listeners' fears, whispering personal secrets. Audio analysis confirmed the voices matched missing persons from the manuscript and orphanage tales. This revelation? The chorus isn't just sound. It's a trap, embedding the sigil into the subconscious, linking victims across media. The keeper's diary adds contradiction, painting an insider's fractured account. The musician's sister found his journal, hidden in the record sleeve. Entries describe visitors, dictating the melody, figures with sigil-marked eyes. He wrote a resisting, but the diary contradicted itself. Pages alternating between pleas for help and praises for the entity. It promises eternity. One line read, followed by it devours. Leaked scans in the 2000s showed ink that faded under light, as if alive. The sister's testimony claimed the diary rewrote itself overnight, erasing warnings. This insider view twists reality. If even records lie, how can we trust any account? The horror lingers in the uncertainty, pulling us toward doubt. But here's where it darkens further, introducing a new open loop that chills to the core. If these tales connect to the sigil and rite, what if the entity isn't bound at all, but roaming freely, masquerading as everyday coincidences? This enigma defies explanation. Victims report synchronicities, like clocks stopping at the right hour, yet no one links them until too late. We'll unravel that in the end, but for now, it hangs unresolved, urging you onward. Pressing on with the fourth story, the true name half-decoded emerges from the chorus. Linguists analyzing the backwards audio piece together syllables, as though fragments of an eldritch name from forbidden lore. Speaking it aloud reportedly summons visions, as one podcaster learned in 2015. He uttered it on air, then his feed cut to static filled with whispers. The half-name ties back to the healer's rite, where she incomplete the binding by never fully naming the entity. This partial decode amplifies its power, allowing glimpses but not control. Online forums buzz with attempts completed, but those who try vanish, their last post garbled with sigil code. The dread? We're teasing a beast we can't name. Looping back to the first story, an omen across centuries appears in old paintings housing the manuscript symbol. Art historians in the 1700s noted the sigil hidden in Renaissance works, like shadows and backgrounds. One painting, of a scholar at his desk, mirrors the antique dealer's fate. The figure's eyes hollow, manuscript aglow. Carbon dating links the paint to the rite's era, suggesting the entity influenced artists through time. A museum fire in the 1990s destroyed most, but survivors show the symbol evolving, growing clearer. This omen warns that the manuscript's curse predates its discovery, seated in history to ensnare the future. If art holds prophecies, what else hides in plain sight? For the second story, haunted celluloid resurfaces. Lost newsreel from the orphanage's closure. Filmed in 1913, it captured children playing, but slowed frames reveal sigil shapes in their shadows. The reel vanished from archives until collector found it in 2020, digitized it, and uploaded snippets. Viewers reported nausea, then dreams of the broken doll. The footage shows a staff member whispering to the camera, lips forming the backwards chorus syllables. This celluloid ties the orphanage to the record, proving the entity's multimedia spread. Screenings at festivals sparked panic. Attendees claiming figures from a reel appeared in mirrors. The horror escalates. If film captures souls, it can release them too. In the fourth story again, an impossible phenomenon shatters witnesses. An eyewitness experiences a time rupture. During a 2010 listening party for the digitized record, the room flickered. Participants described seconds stretching, seeing overlays of past events. The orphanage's vanishing night, the manuscript's incantations. One man touched a phantom figure, emerging with the sigil burned on his palm. Reports sync with seismic data, showing unexplained tremors. This rupture suggests the entity warps reality when invoked, blending eras. Survivors aged unevenly, hair graying overnight. The impossibility? Science can't explain it. Yet evidence mounts, forcing us to question our world's fabric. Our fifth story unveils conspiracy dossier, a government file hinting at cover-up, leaked in the 1970s from classified vaults. It detailed Project Veil, an operation to suppress sigil-related incidents. Agents monitor the manuscript's owners, the orphanage explorers, even the record's fans. The dossier mentioned the rite's origin, a 15th century experiment gone awry, funded by shadowy elites. It warned of contagion, where exposure spreads a curse like a virus. Whistleblowers vanish after leaks, their files redacted with sigil patterns. This conspiracy reframes everything. If authorities know, why hide it? The dread lies in silence, implying larger forces at play. The ritual fulfilled exposes the cult's endgame in stark detail. That conspiracy dossier wasn't just a cover-up. It chronicled a modern revival of the ancient rite. In the 2010s, a secret society, descendants of the original healers and settlers gathered in hidden bunkers, using the sigil to complete what started centuries ago. Their goal? Not to bind the entity, but to merge with it, gaining immortality through shared essence. Leaked audio from their meetings captured chants echoing the backwards chorus, mixed with manuscript incantations. One member, a high-ranking official, fulfilled the ritual by etching the sigil into a digital grid, broadcasting it worldwide via subliminal signals and media. The endgame succeeded partially. Participants reported enhanced senses, but at a cost. Their reflections distorted, showing elongated silhouettes. This exposure means a ritual isn't past. It's ongoing, pulsing through screens and signals, waiting for the final alignment. The dread intensifies with a doppelganger revealed, uncovering a key survivor's hidden identity in chilling fashion. That whistleblower who leaked the dossier? She wasn't who she claimed. Investigations in 2022 traced her to a woman thought vanished from the orphanage decades earlier, Sarah, the urban explorer with the broken doll. But photos showed inconsistencies. Her eyes held the sigil swirl, and dental records matched a child from 1912. The revelation? She's a doppelganger, a copy crafted by the entity to infiltrate the living. Survivors like her carry fragments, mimicking lost souls to spread the curse. Her testimony online was bait, drawing in curious readers who then experienced time slips. When confronted, she vanished mid-interview, leaving a mirror cracked with the sigil. This hidden identity shatters trust. If survivors are imposters, who among us is real? The entity's game turns personal, blurring lines between victim and vessel. Circling back to the first story, a crime behind a manuscript unveils a twisted continuity error that hides a darker truth. That antique dealer didn't just vanish. His disappearance masked a self-inflicted end, driven by the book's influence. Hidden in the manuscript's margins, a continuity error in the script. Repeated phrases that shift meaning, encodes a command to erase oneself from existence. Forensic linguists in the 2000s decoded it, revealing the crime as a metaphysical murder. The entity forces hosts to unravel their own timelines, making them never have existed. Family photos of victims faded post-vanishing, records expunged as if by an invisible hand. One case, a 1970s owner, left a suicide note that rewrote itself to blank paper. This twisted error proves a manuscript doesn't kill outright. It murders history, leaving voids where lives once stood. The horror? Your own past to be fragile, susceptible to whispers that rewrite reality. For the second story, cursed screenings of the orphanage footage spark global phenomena that echo far beyond the Midwest. That 1913 newsreel, once digitized, didn't stay contained. Underground screenings in the 2020s led to outbreaks. Viewers worldwide reported doll-like figures in their homes, giggling at night. In Tokyo, a theater showing it emptied overnight. Patrons found wandering streets with sigil scratches. Phenomena spread like a virus. Clocks stopping at the vanishing hour, mirrors fogging with childlike handprints. Experts linked it to the rights fragments, where footage acts as a conduit, summoning echoes of the lost children. One global event in 2023 saw synchronized vanishings during a viral stream, tying back to the folklore shadow keepers now unbound. This curse turns passive watching into participation, making every screen a potential portal. If you ever felt watched during a late-night video, this explains why. The orphanage's grip reaches through time and tech. The third story escalates with mass vanishings where the sigil appears in modern disappearances, linking ancient stone to today's shadows. In 2018, a string of hiker cases in the Scottish Highlands mirrored the 1980s autopsy, bodies found with internal brands, but now in clusters. Witnesses described sigils glowing on trails during eclipses, followed by groups vanishing en masse. One event at the original dig site saw 20 tourists disappear, their last photos showing the symbol etched in clouds. Autopsies revealed time-slipped organs, hearts aged centuries ahead. The sigil's role? It manifests during alignments, pulling crowds into rifts as sacrifices to renew the blood oath. Global reports surged, from American parks to European ruins, all bearing the mark. This mass scale proved the entity's hunger grows, no longer content with singles. It's harvesting en masse, hidden in accidents we dismiss. The chill hits home. Your next outing could bear the sign, unseen until too late. Tying it all together, the cosmic truth of the fifth story reframes every tale in a way that shatters perceptions. The conspiracy wasn't human-driven. The entity is a cosmic intruder, a fragment of a larger void beyond our stars. Astronomical data from the 2020s showed anomalies, stars dimming in patterns matching the sigil, as if the right opened a tear in the universe. The manuscript, orphanage, sigil, chorus, and dossier are echoes of this intrusion, designed to terraform Earth for its kind. Victims don't die. They transform, becoming conduits for more fragments to enter. A leaked NASA file connected it. Telescopes captured silhouettes against the moon, elongated figures chanting backwards. This truth means our stories aren't isolated horrors. They're symptoms of an invasion, where everyday objects and places serve as anchors. The entity doesn't haunt. It colonizes, turning our world into its domain one coincidence at a time. Everything you've heard builds to this. Fear isn't in the dark, it's in the light we take for granted. If this cosmic veil has you grasping for more, dare to uncover the entity's full name, half decoded in our tales, but complete in forbidden archive I've linked below. Trace it if you must, but beware. Speaking it might summon your own fragment. As we close this night of whispers and shadows, consider this lingering thought. What if the sigil hides in these very words, waiting for your eyes to linger too long? You've listened deep into the tales, felt the connections pull tight. But one question remains unresolved, echoing the quiet after. Is that chill down your spine just imagination or the entity's first touch? Sleep well if you can. The night holds its breath, watching. But wait! Perhaps there's more to it. Think back to manuscript's first owner, the one who vanished in that Victorian house. Whispers from descendants claim he didn't disappear. He returned, changed, living among us as a silent observer. Records show a man matching his description appearing in photos from the orphanage, the dig site, even the record's recording session. Could he be the silhouette in the frames? The doppelganger pulling strings? This unresolved thread ties loose ends, suggesting the horrors cycle eternally, victims becoming perpetrators in a loop without end. It leaves you wondering, have you encountered him in your own life? A stranger with eyes that know too much? The dread doesn't stop there. Imagine the backwards chorus playing faintly in your mind now. Syllables forming names you recognize. Your own, perhaps. Listeners of similar tales report this. A lingering echo that grows louder over nights. Is it suggestion or the entity's way of marking you? This question hangs, unresolved, urging caution in what you seek next.